All right, guys. So today we have Victoria Louise. So Victoria Louise, she's a yoga instructor. She's an expert on all things breathwork and meditation. Hi, Victoria.
Hiya, Jade. It's lovely to be with you today.
So nice to be with you virtually too. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I am good. So I brought you on here today to have a chat with my audience about breathwork, anxiety, and with all the, I was going to swear then, but I'm not going to, all the mess that's going on at the moment, how you can help these poor people who might be suffering with anxiety.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to talk a bit about that. I love talking about breath work. So, yeah, what would you like to know first?
So let's say, for example, I'm scared about my future. I'm suffering really bad anxiety, and I can't see a way out of this anxiety. What would you recommend?
So, firstly, when we become into a state of anxiety and state of stress, we tend to breathe really shallowly, like up into our chest and heart space, which is when we feel that maybe the sweating, shortness of breath, and like you say, the mind is kind of like just rushing all over the place. And we are in a state of heading towards a state of panic. So when we take control of our breathing and start to slow the breathing down and take it deeper within the body, it activates our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest, meaning that you calm down. And so rather than being in that state of anxiety and state of fight or flight, like I need to get out of this, I need to run away, or I need to battle it head on, we pause and we come back into ourselves, we get centered, and the anxiety starts to pass. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So you're telling people to kind of ground themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as soon as usually when we feel anxious or feel stressed, it's because we feel out of control, right? And if we start to consciously breathe more deeply, we actually change the chemical makeup within our body so that, again, we're activating this parasympathetic nervous system to really just ease ourselves into a more relaxed state. And we know this from, before I even went into breath work and everything, it was like, oh, if you feel everything's too much, take a deep breath and just sigh it out, release it and let it go. We all kind of know that basic, but then the more I delved into breath work, I realized what happened on a deeper level.
Cool. So that's a little bit about the science behind it. Is there a particular style of breathing that you'd recommend, like in through the nose or for a period of time?
I would say it's a tricky one in a weird way, because I'd say it goes on the individual. Your nose is your primary breathing muscle. So really, we should all be breathing in and out of our nose. It filters the air that we breathe, meaning that it's, a clearer, cleaner breath. However, some people, it makes them even more anxious breathing through their nose if they're not used to it. So if you already feel that resistance breathing through the nose, give yourself a bit of a break and breathe through in and out through the mouth. So I would say it varies on person to person, but ideally you want to be breathing through the nose.
And would you tell the person to count the breaths or just focus on the breathing, like expanding through the rib cage or anything like that?
Boom. Yeah, I would say expand. Usually what I get with my students to do is hands onto their lower ribs. So they're like fully encompassing their ribs, thumbs at the back, fingers at the front, and breathe into their hand space. So they're really sending the breath down, opening up their ribs, which is going to work their diaphragm more effectively and efficiently. So using the whole of their breath or breathing network, and down into the belly and even deeper. So they get this full expansion of breath. If people are happy to work with counts, I do sometimes work with counts, but it goes on the individual, because I know from my previous experience when I first got into breath work, I found that it made me more anxious. having to follow somebody's counts.
That's not going to help.
So I was like, oh my gosh, I just need to breathe deeply for me. So I when I teach, I say, if my counts don't work for you, just allow yourself to be guided by your own breath. Because obviously the last thing we want is for you to come away from breathwork being more anxious than when you started.
Yeah. So as well as being an expert in all things breathwork, you also do a lot of meditation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit then. Can you repeat that?
So as well as being an expert in breathwork, you also do a lot of work with meditation. Can you tell us a bit more about meditation?
Yeah. So with meditation, I'd say there's kind of two elements within meditation. You have the mindfulness, which is kind of like the buzzword I'd say about now at the moment, it's been coming out. And then you have meditation. And I would say that mindfulness is the gateway into a deeper meditation, which is why I'm sort of bringing the two together. So if you're new to it, mindfulness is a really great tool to access, which you can do with your breath work. So they all kind of merge into one. Because when you're doing mindfulness, you're bringing yourself aware into the moment, so into whatever's happening now. Whereas with meditation, I feel that meditation, this is my interpretation anyway, is when we start to tap into our subconscious more deeply, we start to work on manifesting, we work on releasing stuff that we maybe don't realize we're holding. So it kind of takes it into a whole new realm. But in my mind, in my opinion, the mindfulness helps you get there because first of all, you need to learn to focus your mind on something. And then the meditation, it allows you to explore your mind more deeply.
Cool. So if I'm really struggling and I've got really bad anxiety, the first thing to do from your advice is to do some grounding breaths. So placing my hands around my rib cage and breathing into my hand space. And then maybe also doing some mindfulness and maybe something like gratitudes, like a gratitude list, or just becoming really present. And will that help get me out of that headspace of anxiety?
Yeah, I would definitely say the grounding breath work for sure to start with, which then filters into the mindfulness, which could be, I would say the gratitude falls more under the potential of a meditation. Whereas if you're doing mindfulness to get out of anxiety, it would literally be focusing on your breath. It could be focusing on an object. It could be focusing on a noise, but it's taking you away from that one, the fear or the anxiety that you're currently feeling, and it's making you consciously aware of something else. And that doesn't mean to say that your thoughts might not drift back into the fear and the anxiety, but that's what the mindfulness is for, and the meditation is for, to bring you back to what you want to be thinking of rather than where your mind wants to take you to.
Of course, it's just about breaking that feedback loop, really, isn't it? Because when you are in a state of anxiety, you're anxious because something might happen, and then because that thing might happen, you're anxious, but then your anxiety, and then you've got more anxiety, and you just go around in this horrible feedback loop, and it just doesn't seem to stop. So if that is you, take a few breaths.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it depends on what scale you're on as well, because one of the things that I teach and talk about is sometimes you just need to sit with that feeling, not jump on the roller coaster and let it sweep you away, but go, okay, this is how I'm feeling right now. Is it going to pass with me just observing what I'm feeling? Or, like you kind of said, the gratitudes or what have you, like something to, in a weird way, cut that wire short, like short circuit it, and go, okay, this is what I can be grateful for now. This is what I'm consciously thinking of now, to step out of that roller coaster.
Yeah, and I also think a lot has to also be said for letting the feelings that you are having, actually explore them and sit down with the feelings that you might be having. So if you're feeling anger, if you're feeling sadness, not just brushing them under the carpet, but also just sitting with them and allowing them to just be present in your body. Would you say that's helpful, or have I just made things worse for this poor person who's got anxiety?
Yeah. I would say take baby steps with it, because if they are in a really dark space, sometimes going really deep can aggravate it and elevate it even more. However, there is definitely something to be said for, rather than, like you say, brushing it away, brushing it under the carpet, because it'll only resurface again later. So, you know, sometimes we're not always ready to face our demons right there and then, but it's going, I know that I'm going to have to approach it at some point. If I want to get over this, if I want to be free from this feeling, I need to approach it at some point. But it's then that's where the meditation comes in, because it's starting to explore and observe yourself and know when the right time to really sit with it and release it is for you.
Cool.
And it can just be like, one of the things that I work with a lot is letting go and forgiveness. And you don't have to, when I talk about forgiveness, some people are like, oh my gosh, but I can't forgive that person for this or that. And it's like, well, you don't have to forgive them entirely today. You could forgive them like 2% today. So it just makes it more bite-sized. And if you're feeling really anxious, you could look at it like that. It's like, I don't need to tackle this whole thing today. I just need to do 2% of it today.
Yeah, I think forgiveness is a whole nother episode of this.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
a massive one. But I absolutely agree with what you say. If you can just take your anxiety down by 2%, maybe tomorrow, then that's a huge improvement over one day. And just taking
Precisely, yeah.
small steps every day just means that in a few days you'll feel amazing, hopefully.
Yeah, agreed. And the deeper you can breathe, the more benefit you're going to feel, because every time we breathe more deeply, we are powering our energy, we're changing our chemistry, as I say. So yeah.
Cool. And where can people find more of what you do?
Oh yeah, that'd be great to tell people. So my website is iamvictorialouise.co.uk, with the I am. And that is the same for Instagram, and you should be able to find me that way on Facebook as well. So they're my kind of go-tos.
Perfect. So if you want more breathwork goodness, if you want meditations, Victoria Louise is your girl. But thank you so much, Vicky, for joining us, and I will let you enjoy the rest of this lovely weekend. Take care.
Thank you. Happy Easter.